Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Lighthouse TV. It's your boy Blinks. I just wanted to talk about a couple things, man. Well, I'm guessing you can tell by the thumbnail. I just wanted to talk about the late Mr. Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace, man. Condolences to his family, to his friends, those that worked with him, and all those who supported him, first of all. I hadn't made a video for a little while, man. I was kind of going over, what happened and kind of processing it, I guess you could say. And I didn't know if I wanted to make a video about it. I was a little like, I didn't know if I should do anything on politics, stuff like that. I really don't like to get into politics because I'm not on either side. I'm not blue, red, conservative, all that. I'm not none of that. But I felt because I had a platform, I had to say something. I'm gonna say something about it. So I thought about how I could make this video. And there's some things I'm probably not gonna talk about. I could make a lot of videos about this, but I just wanted to make a couple points actually. What happened was a tragedy. It was a tragedy for our country, for his family, for his movement. And just because you disagree with somebody or you don't believe in the things they believe in or their politics or just for the way they think, you shouldn't. Nobody deserves that. That was really uncalled for, very sad, embarrassing as a country. I mean, be honest. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. We shouldn't be afraid to speak our minds, and that's either side for whatever you believe in. And I had a lot of conversations with, some people I really care about. Some people that I love, and I heard the opinions, and I really didn't know anything about Charlie Kirk. I seen some of his shorts, pop up on YouTube, and I watched them. I was like, man, this guy's really getting out there, putting the mic in front of him and giving everybody a chance to speak, which I thought that's pretty cool, man. There's some people, they get on a stand or they have rallies and all that, but it's only them speaking. They only speak their mind. They don't allow questions, most of the time, at least from what I've seen. Like I said, I'm not really into politics, but most of the time it's one-sided. And this guy really let everybody speak, because when you disagree with somebody, the best way to deal with it, the best way to get through a disagreement or way of seeing things, your perspectives and all that, just talk about it, which I think was a really good thing. If you disagree, then let's talk about why do we disagree? What do we have in common? What do we have alike in the way of our thinking, and let's talk about the things we disagree about, and let's figure it out. Let's see, what the facts are, and that's all I've seen. I've seen a bunch of facts. I've heard a lot about, that he was transphobic and he was racist, and, they compared him to Hitler, and I was like, man, that's crazy. The first conversation I had about it, I was like, man, he didn't deserve that. And then, I started hearing all these things. I was like, wow, well, you know what? Well, let me do my research. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, I mean, either way, nobody deserves to die for what they believe in. Just for words, for speaking words, that shouldn't mean anything. The only thing that told me was that man's voice was very well heard and understood, and he was making an impact, And man, I spent since that day, September 10th, that was my stepdad's birthday. And the day before that was my birthday, and I was like, dang, this is crazy. So I did my research, and I still haven't found a video. I've seen the snippets where people can misconstrue his words or take things out of context, but I've seen the full video, and to now, to this day, I can't find a full length video where people could get that idea from. I've seen a lot of videos where he was telling people he loves them, and if that's their prerogative, that's their prerogative, and he's praying for them, and hopefully they can change their minds. But I didn't see him like trying to push that on nobody or saying I hate you, or and I myself, I don't have anything against gay or trans or LGBTQ, any of that. Like, none of that bothers me. Like, it's none of my business, first of all. But I do understand why the conversation came up, because people just have differences of the way they see things, and according to his beliefs and according to the Bible, like you said, Anyways, I don't want to get too far into that, but I mean, both sides had points, but I think where a lot of people were getting really mad about and angry about was, he was bringing up facts and actual statistics, and I think that kind of opened a lot of people's eyes, as far as like, oh, that things are rigged against certain people. And I didn't agree with every single thing, like as far as like immigration. Like, one thing you got to understand is, I know my ancestors probably came over here illegally or whatever, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. I really haven't really looked into I know my great grandfather was from Mexico, but as far as I know. But the thing where I think people were torn apart was, he was actually just going by the law. That's the only thing I got out of that. It was like, well, it is against the law. There's things that are against the law and things that are not against the law. So I think, I don't think people were mad at him. I think where people put their anger towards him, but I think they were mad at the law. So if you're mad at the law, well, then you probably should change the law. And then if you change the law, that probably would have changed Charlie Kirk, because he stood behind the law. And if you change the law, well, then that means he's on your side, right? I mean, I could be wrong. That's just the way I'm thinking about it. But, you got to be the change you want to see. You can't, he wasn't the law. He's not a mayor. He didn't make the laws. And, he was going by his own faith. His faith in the Bible, and he put God first, and then his country, and his family. I thought that was commendable, man. It is like to the young people, watching this. I know my channel isn't very big, but those who are watching it, don't be afraid to speak your mind and, debate, talk about things, man. You have somebody who disagrees with you, or you want to stand behind something, look into it. You self-educate. Don't just take everybody's word for things, because people misconstrue things, people mishear things, or if they read stuff, they only get what they want to get out of a passage or any book. They're like, oh, I like this and this and this, but yeah, you're not taking it for the whole thing. You're only picking out. Some people just cherry pick, and then they go tell people this, and then people will take their advice, and now that's their truth, if that makes sense. Don't believe everything you hear, and only half of what you see. Self-educate, man. If you believe in something, you want to stand behind it, well, then go look into it. And get some knowledge about it. Go back, find out where it started, how it began, what the words mean, and where it derives from, and like get deep, man. Because that's one thing I seen about Charlie Kirk, man. He really knew his stuff. He knew his stuff, man. You cannot deny that, man. That, and I commend that, man. Like, he really knew what he was talking about. And people were saying, why do you come to college campuses? To college kids, it's like, it's almost unfair. But people knew he was coming. And people had plenty of time to prepare for the things they say that they stood behind, the things they believe in. And I think that's where the good thing was, where he even gave people time to prepare, and you had every chance and opportunity to speak your mind. And one woman that said that to him, why do you come to the campuses? You don't feel like this is like that you shouldn't come to a campus where there's number of kids and they really don't know what they're talking about. And he said, well, I'm talking to voters. That right there, I was like, wow, that's a really good point. Because everybody who's voting, you know, if these are all voters and they're going to vote for somebody and they're standing behind it, wouldn't you want to, don't you think that those people that are voting should know what they're voting for and know why they're voting for it and know everything that they have to do with and what the things they touch and the things that they're able to change? If you want to vote for somebody, know who you're voting for. And you know, that's what I got out of it. I'm like, man, you know, that's really smart to do. Is like, well, this is the person you're voting for, or sides or whatever. I mean, I really don't believe in sides. I believe that there's right and there's wrong, and you know, either side, no matter who you vote for, they're gonna have good things, they're gonna have bad things. You know, and I didn't even vote, to tell you the truth. Like, I didn't vote because I'm like, either way, you know, there's good and there's bad, so what's the point? But now these things like this happen, I'm like, man, you know, maybe I should get out there and vote. Maybe I should start looking more into politics and really finding out who's going to be running our country or our cities or our states, or, you know, like I said, I really know nothing about it, but, you know, it kind of messed with my mind, man. It kind of got me thinking, like, you know, why would somebody do that? You know, to prove a point? Because you can't debate and you can't get your point across without getting stuffed, or, you know, getting caught in where your back is against the wall and you feel embarrassed. And I mean, you shouldn't be embarrassed, you know. That means just go back and learn some more. That way, now you really know what you're talking about the next time you get in front of that microphone. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that's kind of just wanted to make that video on that. You know, I want to let all the youngsters know, man, and teenagers and people, you know, not even old enough to vote. Like, before you're even old enough to vote, you know, really start looking into those things, you know, because those things do matter. Who's running our country, and who's running our states, and our, you know, our mayors, and who's in, you know what I mean, all that. Anybody that if you can vote for people, you know, now I'm starting to understand, like, hey, man, it does matter. It didn't matter to me before. I felt like I didn't have, like, really, I was just a needle in a haystack. But, you know, now it made me kind of open my eyes, like, man, maybe I should really start looking into things. Like, man, and I understand, like, one of the reasons why I didn't vote for is because, man, I'm out here trying to survive. I'm trying to make my paychecks, pay my rent, you know, car notes, and, you know, eggs are $1,000, and gas isn't cheap. And, like, man, I got life decisions to make. I don't have time to go out there and try to vote for all these people. Like, man, I got a family I got to support. You know, I got responsibilities. But, you know, our country shouldn't be, I don't want our country to be known for this. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't dislike anybody, or I might disagree. Like, yeah, I disagree with a lot of people, but I never felt the reason to go out there and just hurt somebody because of it. Like, if it don't concern me and it doesn't physically bother me, well, then just leave it alone. You know, just like this YouTube channel. Like, you don't want to see this video, all you gotta do is swipe to the next one. You know, just everybody gathered there because they wanted to hear what he had to say, and obviously he was important enough where people gathered, you know, and wanted to see the debate. You know, there was a lot of good arguments. You know, not everybody, he didn't just stump everybody. A lot of people had a lot of good things to say and had really good points. And, you know, and he was also, like, he said, you know, that he learned from all that. Like, he was open-minded. He wanted to hear, because maybe, you know, come and prove me wrong, and come and show me and educate me on things that maybe I don't know. And I thought that was kind of cool, man. That's like, I think that was the best way you could do these things, to tell you the truth. I mean, that's what I'm like. I'm lost for words. Like, I don't even understand why that happened. I know that there was people that didn't like him, but that doesn't warrant that. You know, you should never put your hands on somebody, physically hurt somebody because of that. Like, that's crazy, man. But anyway, man, I'm gonna leave you on that, and let me know what you think in the comments, man. You know, all comments are welcome. You know, you don't want to bash me, that's fine. I really don't know everything about politics, so whatever you say could be true. I mean, I don't know. I'll read them and do my research again. Like, I'll make another video if you want. But I just had to say that, man. You know, rest in peace. And I know seems like his movement just got a little stronger. But don't let that discourage you, man. Anybody out there, either on either side of the fence or whatever side or political party you're on, like, don't be afraid to speak your mind, man. Speak your mind, speak your truth, and don't misconstrue your truth with the truth. You know, go and get your facts right. You know, and make sure you know what you're talking about. Yeah, man, that's all I got. And love and peace, man. I'm out of here.